everyone! Today we will be designing our very own balloon for the Macy's Day Parade. Now, it's not really going to be in the parade, but let's pretend. So you should have just read the book Balloons Over Brooklyn, and that is the book that we're basing our lesson on today. You're going to be needing a piece of paper, a pencil, something to color with. I have colored pencils and crayons. I also have a black marker that I'm going to be using to outline my balloon. Now, here's an example of one of the balloons from the Macy's Day Parade. You can see it's Charlie Brown. There's lots of strings holding this balloon down, if you'll notice, and lots of people holding that balloon from floating away. You can see that they're standing on the street, and there are lots of buildings in the background because it is in New York City. So we're going to be basing our drawing on this today. The first thing we're going to do is with our pencil make a horizontal line across the bottom of our paper. Now you can see mine isn't perfectly straight. It's okay. You can use a ruler if you want to make it perfect. So after you draw that horizontal line about an inch from the bottom of your paper, what you're going to do is start thinking about the balloon that you want to do. So your balloon could be your favorite cartoon character. It could be a symbol that represents you. It could be you in a balloon form, right? It could be your favorite character from one of your favorite games. It's totally up to you. I want you to be creative and create your own balloon for the parade. I'm going to be drawing an artist palette with a paintbrush because I love to paint and I'm an artist, so I chose to go the symbol direction, choosing a symbol that represents me. So I'm just drawing the shape of my paintbrush and my palette with pencil. It's important to do this step with pencil so that you can erase any mistakes. Just erasing the lines there to make it look like my paintbrush is on top of my palette, and adding some of my details like those splotches of paint that again will be behind my paintbrush. Oops, looks like my paintbrush fell into my paint there. I'm going to add a splotch of paint on the tip of my paintbrush. So boys and girls, come up with your own balloon and draw it to the best of your ability. So I'm just adding some fine details here, and there we have it. Now let's talk about those strings. So balloons need strings to hold them from floating away. So I'm going to just make some curved lines that come off of different parts of my paint palette balloon. So I'm just going to make 4. Now in that picture you saw there were a lot. You can make as many or as few strings as you want. Just make sure that you have more than just a few so that your balloon doesn't float away. Now for the little people, I'm not adding too much detail for the people holding down my balloon. I want a lot of emphasis on the actual balloon. I want that to be the most important part of my artwork. So I'm just drawing these little people. I have 2 little arms, a body, 2 legs, and a head. Not adding too much detail. Now if you want to add more detail, by all means, please do. I'm just adding a little hair here. A little long hair. Ooh, and maybe I'm going to do a hat on this next one. Yes, a hat will do. Okay, so there's my balloon with my little friends holding it down by the strings. Next, we're going to focus on the background, the area behind my balloon here. So after you draw your balloon and your strings and your little friends holding down your balloon, we're going to focus on the background. But before I do that, I think I'm going to make my balloon look more 3-dimensional. So what I'm going to do is just add these 2 little vertical lines and trace the shape of my paint palette so that it looks more 3D. Now this might not apply to you. Your balloon might already look 3-dimensional depending on how you draw it. I think mine looked a little flat, so that's why I added some dimension. I'm just adding some little lines here to show that is the edge of my paint palette. Okay, so let's focus on those buildings in the background. I'm going to use a ruler so that I can draw my buildings nice and straight. Just putting my ruler on my paper and letting my pencil glide across the ruler. Maybe some of my buildings in the background will be different widths, meaning some will be more narrow and some will be taller, or some will be wider. Now I want to make sure my balloon is overlapping in front of my buildings, so I'm making sure to include that in my artwork by just stopping when I reach my balloon. Just going to add another line here for another building, and then I'm going to start thinking about the windows on my buildings. Because these are tall city buildings in New York City, well, those skyscrapers usually have a lot of windows. So I'm just going to add some windows here. Okay, so I just finished my windows and my door. I'm going to add some more to all of my buildings. I'm going to start with this one on the far left. I'm going to do something a little different. I want to include a variety of different windows. So I'm going to do these little balconies first by doing rectangles with lines and then adding some windows on top of those. And I will show you my finished cityscape in the background right now. There we are. So you see I have a variety of different shapes of windows. I have little balconies. You could add little people looking out the balcony windows if you like, watching the parade. It's up to you. So I have half moon shapes, or half circle shapes, rather, squares, rectangles. So I want the most important part of my artwork to be my balloon. I want the most emphasis to be on that balloon. So I'm not going to add color to my towers in the background, to my buildings, but I am going to add some color to my balloon. And again, that will help to add more emphasis to it. So I'm just going to use some colored pencils here. And remember, when you use colored pencils, always start off by coloring in lightly in small areas. You don't want to press hard because then you will see all of the different pencil marks and it will be really distracting in your artwork. So you can see that I am just using lots of light layers here to add value and colors to my balloon. Now I'm also going to start outlining some of the edges with my colored pencil, pressing down a little harder to really define the edge of my balloon. I will be going in later with a black marker to actually add more definition and more contrast to the edges, but I thought it might be a nice touch to go in with my brown colored pencil as well. Okay, here's the last color of paint. I love this color, this blue-green. And I'm actually going to add this color on my paintbrush as well to make it look like my paintbrush was just dipped into that color. But first I'm going to add some color to my paintbrush handle. And I'm actually adding different values of brown to make it look like one side is highlighted and the other side is in shadow. Okay, I'm just using my pencil here to shade this part in. Now, if you don't have colors at home, I want you to add value using your pencil. So add some shading to your balloon to make it a little bit darker and add more emphasis. Some of us might not have colors at home, and using a pencil to add value is always a great option. I'm just going to add a little pop of color to my little guys and gals down here holding up my balloon ever so tirelessly, just so we know that they're down there. Alright, now I'm going to use a thin black Sharpie. I know I showed you a black Crayola marker in the beginning of the video, but, you know, plans change. So I'm going to be using this thin black Sharpie to outline all of the different shapes on my balloon. This will add more contrast, it will add more of a finished look, and it will really add a lot of emphasis to my balloon, telling us that that is the most important part of our artwork and having that part really stand out. Now, you could also outline everything in your background with that black marker, or you could color everything in your background in. It's totally up to you, but I'm going to stop here because my balloon really pops out. It has the most contrast in my whole artwork, and it has emphasis. It's really emphasized because it's the only thing that's colored in. Okay. Boys and girls, I hope you have fun with this. Remember, be creative, design your own balloon, color it in, and if you don't have colors, make sure you add value to your artwork using your pencil. That just means shading things in. All right, guys and girls, I can't wait to see your balloons, and have a happy Thanksgiving.